Welcome everyone to this webinar. This webinar is about regular expressions, and my name is Miklós Urban, Head of Geograce Professional Services. This webinar is actually the second part of a series of regular expression introduction. It's still basics, and this is the part 2. As outlined in the abstract of this webinar, I asked to advertise this as a second part, so everybody should see part 1. But before I go ahead, I would like to send out a poll and ask you how familiar you are with regex expressions. So hopefully you should be able to see now a poll. Poll must be closed. Yep, I see your answers are coming in. Perfect. Thank you very much. This gives me a impression that quite a few of you don't know anything about regex expressions, whereas half of you use regex expression time to time and would like to have some refreshments. So I think I will try to, well, cater for both needs, but definitely I will be a bit quick at the beginning, but we'll try to stop for a bit and explain everything that I do. So let me go to the next screen. In memoQ we use regex expression, or one can use regex expression for a lot of things. Why? Because regex expressions are a kind of language that can describe text patterns, and regex expressions so can fit or match to certain text bits, as from basic text things like literal characters, literal text, to also very complex things that we will see during this presentation. But for now, that's enough that regex expression is an expression that can match to a certain text pattern, and we'll see what it means. Now, it's not only true for memoQ, of course, it's true for other CAT tools, because the CAT tools deal with text. So in these tools, you can use regex for a number of features. In memoQ, we can use it for filtering while translating, filter the translation grid with regex expression. We can also search for strings with certain patterns, certain text patterns. We can also use the regex tagger that turns these patterns, the matching patterns, turns them into red tags so that they are excluded from the translator's reach. You can't modify it, you can't make any changes and so spoil them. So you can preserve these things in the target text. Also, regex taggers are used to kind of hide things. Well, it's not going to be hide, it's going to turn to a red tag, but hide things that are not translatable, like marks or some kind of punctuation or variable things that will be replaced during runtime, and like a software localization. When the software will use that text that you are translating, the software will actually replace that variable with some text or with some string or with some numbers or whatsoever. Then we have the auto translation rules that for these four items I will show some examples during the presentation. And we also use regex expressions for segmentation rules and QA, and the regex text filter, which is a very special filter, also uses these expressions. I will not go into these three today. On one hand, some of them are very complex, and on the other hand, once you are clear with the basics, probably you will be able to step on and try out your skills within these areas as well. And also I planned to do a third round of this presentation, so we will go on to these more complex things next time. Well, for the first webinar, who've seen the first webinar, some of you might have, we use these screens, and I try to explain regex patterns through these screens. It actually doesn't work this way, it works rather this way. So I just, let me hide the ribbon and show what I think of when I say regex expression. So let's say we want to create a pattern, a regex pattern, an expression that matches the red text here down. So, well, it's something like Monday to Friday, semicolon, 9 a.m. to 5 p.m. So I want to make a regex expression that matches this thing because, for example, I want to save this. I don't want this to get translated when I am doing this. For example, this is like a doctor's directory in the US, and this is being translated from English to Spanish, for example, and it's for all the people, it's understandable what this means, so I don't want this to get translated. Just an example, not certainly right example. Okay, so how this thing can be patternized? I mean, when you search for text, you can search for M-F, semicolon, and so on, and you will find it. But you would also like to find other things when the days are not Monday and Friday, but maybe other days. You also want to match to pattern to text when the time is different, like 8 o'clock or 4 o'clock or whatever. So you would like to create a pattern that generally match these kind of strings, not only this particular one. So what we do, we don't see this M as a letter M, but we see this as a capital letter for the sake of simplicity for now. We will step on with this a bit later. So we need a token that will mean it's a capital letter. Now, capital letters can be, in one way, used as this one. It is like a square brackets with A to Z in between, and it means any character between A and Z. That's the full capital alphabet. So this will match to the capital M. It's also going to match to the capital F, so I use it there. And we can also, well, between these two, there is a dash, a hyphen, so I can use a hyphen character there, literally, so to match it. The same for semicolon. It is followed with a semicolon, so I can use a semicolon literally to match this character. So what is after that? There is a blank, a space there, and well, we can literally type a space, but it could, well, be a different kind of space. It could be like a non-breaking space, or it could even be a tabulator or some other things. And in regex, we have this \s expression, this token, that can match to spaces, non-breaking spaces, tabulators, and so on. We have these kind of tokens. For example, for digits, for number digits, we could write like the same way as we wrote for A to Z. We could write 0 to 9, but it's easier to write \d, and that means a digit. Actually, there are other ways, of course, to write A to Z. It's just an example. And last time we also learned that this kind of expression, this kind of token between the square brackets are actually a OR expression for all the characters within. So it could be a list of characters. We will see this later. All right. So what else we have? We have this AM and PM things. These are things, but this can be only two types. It could be AM or PM. There's no other choice. So we will use a optional token that means that it is either AM or PM. And this looks like this. It's in a round bracket, an AM, a little pipe, and then a PM. So it means AM or PM. So this will match to this part here, and this will also match to this part here. And in between, we have the hyphen and the 5, which is a digit. So I just repeat the digit token, and I repeat the hyphen token. So this is how it adds up to a full expression. Well, at some of the places it overlaps, so let me slide it a bit upwards so you can see. Oh, sorry, I didn't want to catch that. I wanted to catch this part. So now they are, well, maybe a better view, I don't know. So this is an expression that we can use to describe this kind of text patterns. Now, I use this software to write regex expression. It's not an advertisement. I like this software, and I will show you around in this software today. So you can see the name of the software is Regex Body, but there are other softwares on the market that you can use to write regex expressions as well. Well, there are also free softwares available online maybe. So, but for me, this is easier to use because I use it every day. Okay, so here's our text, and I want to match this. So what happens in the software? This is the sample text. Here in this area, we will see highlighted those items that are matched to the top expression. So I start typing this A to Z, and you will see that all the capital letters within the sample area are highlighted. So I go on and say hyphen literally. So now we can see that only the, well, not all the capital letters are highlighted anymore, but only those that are followed by a hyphen. So I type on and say I want a capital letter here as well. So now it's only the Monday to Friday expressions that are highlighted. So we discussed that now comes a literal semicolon and a white space. That's what we call this \s, a white space, and then a digit \d, and here it comes this optional AM or PM. You can see in the bottom here in this area that it is highlighting the text, the matching text, the matching patterns in the text. So the next one is a hyphen, and there this one is repeated. Let me just copy this over here that way, and you can see that now the original text is matching to this expression. So this is exactly the same expression where we left it last time. Well, this is what I intended to be like an introduction. So I hope those who are not very familiar with regex could catch a couple of ideas of what's going on, and we can step on the material of the curriculum of the second part. I didn't mention in the beginning that you can put any question at any time in the same window where you confirm that you can see my well, where you confirm that you can hear me. I just see that the last one is 5 minutes ago sent. Your volume went down. I hope it's back now, and I don't know what happened. I'm not moving or doing anything else. It is back. Thank you very much. Okay, so whatever you do, whenever you want, please send your questions, and time to time I will stop and try to answer your questions. So there's a question: why is only the first sequence captured? All right, that's because the other sequences are a bit edited. We will see, and that's what I'm going to do now, see why the other things are not captured. Well, there's something captured which is strange, and I will get to this point as well, why something that shouldn't be captured is captured. I mean, V to H seems to be like, well, it's not English day names, and writing regular expression, one of the challenges is to not only to match the text, but also don't match anything else. So that will be an example to that. And we see that there are a couple of other examples that do not match, and we will try to match all of these. Right. So the next step is, well, this thing here means a digit, \d, a digit, one digit. So why it doesn't match to these things is because there are two digits, and it will not match to two digits. Well, for the first occasion, we learned that we could actually use the plus sign, and the plus sign means it is one or more digits. So it's kind of like a quantifier. It says it is at least one digit, so it will work for any number of digits. Let me put it also here, and we'll see that it matches to 9 a.m. to 10 p.m., which is meaningful, 10 a.m. to 5 p.m., but it also matches to 10 a.m. to 13 p.m., which is, well, it doesn't make any sense. Or 16 a.m. to 22 p.m., which either of them don't make any sense. What's more, it could actually match to, just an idea, to this crazy thing. I know it is probably not included in text. What I want to raise here is that we need to make sure when writing regex, sometimes we need to make sure that we also exclude things that shouldn't be matching, not only match things. So for this case, I have other options. Plus means it is either one or more occurrences of the previous token. The previous token here is a \d, a digit, so it could match to any number of numbers. However, it could be, we could say, to narrow it down, it is either one or two. And you can see already that this is not matching. If I, instead of the plus sign, I use this curly brackets with the numbers, it tells the regex interpreter how many of those tokens will be there. It could be 1, 2. Actually, it could be this way. In this case, it's only 2. You can see that in this case, it is not matching to 1, because now I explicitly say it's 2, but it could be 1 to 2. Actually, this means something between 1 and 2, but that's, as we are talking about integers, it means it's 1 or 2. I can do this the same here, and in this way I excluded this crazy expression, it will not match. Down to the towards there are other things, so they will not match. But here we can see that we match the original, and we also match those that are meaningful. Well, we still match those that are not meaningful because they start, well, they contain 2 characters, 2 digits. So we could, how could we narrow it down further? Well, we could say something like it could be either a 1-digit number, or it could be a 2-digit number starting with a 1, ending with 0, 1, or 2. So instead of this part, this token, I just get rid of this, and instead of this, I put here a optional item. Options means that we use a round bracket, just as for AM, PM, and we'll use a pipe to separate the two options. So one option is that we have one digit. The other option is that we start with a 1, and after the 1 it could be either 0, 0, 1 or 2. So that's a list of characters, and that's how we put it there. It's the same token as we used for A to Z. Here we said it's anything from A to Z. Here I list the digits that are possible. I actually could say it's 0 to 2. It's all the same. So this is how it works. So in this case, I say it's either one digit or it's a 1 followed by a 0, 1 or 2. And in this case, you can see that this is matching. Well, it is matching to this yet, although it is not matching to this because here 16 a.m. is already filtered out. Well, in this one, 10 a.m., that's where we change this. So we have to change the same thing for the closing time. So for the closing time, I just copy it over that way. And now you can see that these meaningless expressions or text are not matching. So we managed to exclude these from by this trick. Okay, I think I have a question. Do you add spaces between the characters? For example, is there a space between A to Z and the dash? No, there is no space at the moment. There's no space. These are following characters. If there would be a space, it would not match because it is looking for the space. So, but I will come down further here, and you will see this title, Changes of Spaces. So I will come to the space question a bit later. Right, but for now, I think we managed to come up with a good solution for the time. And what I want to filter down further is now let's deal with the dates, the days. We have 7 days, Monday to Sunday, or Sunday to Monday, whichever way, Sunday, Saturday. Oh, sorry, I'm European, so for me it's Monday to Sunday. And imagine that instead of Monday to Friday like M to F, we could actually have different things like Monday with MO or Friday with FR or something like that. And we want to exclude this thing that is also meaningless. So what could we do here? Well, the easiest thing is to use the optional items. We know that how it works. It works with pipes. So I just start putting here Monday, Tuesday, and all the things that could appear here. Let me copy this over from my notes. Oops. Okay. Probably I did a bit of more work here, but let me explain what happened. So we have the blue brackets. The blue brackets contain a couple of options. The options are, well, it could be a capital M followed by an O, but this O is not necessary. This question mark means it's very similar to the plus sign. The plus sign meant it's either one or more. The question mark means it either exists or doesn't. So this means O question mark, it means there is either an O or there is nothing. So it will match to the capital M, and it will also match to the MO. Well, this is for Tuesday and Thursday. That means that in this option we have a capital T, and then we could have a U for Tuesday and or an H for Thursday. This is Wednesday. We could have simply a W, and it is either followed or not by a E. And that's for Friday. it's again the same structure. R is optional. And this thing here means that it's an S, and that is followed either by an A or an U for Saturday and Sunday. So these are like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 options, but actually it describes a bit more options through these question marks. So it will match to, you can see that it matches already for Tuesday and Monday like this, but it still matches for the original Monday to Friday. It is not matching yet to this line because we only edited the starting day. So now I just copied this over to the closing day after the hyphen this way. And now we should see that even for this Monday to Friday this way it is matching. And not only that, but also this one that used to be matching is not matching anymore because V and age are not listed in this list. So in the options. So it is not matching anymore. So we excluded something that it shouldn't be there. Okay, so now we have a fairly good solution for both the times and the days. And now let me get back to the question, but before that there's another question. What if we use 09 a.m. or 05 p.m.? That's a very good question. So let me copy it here and say we have 09 a.m. and 05 p.m. and this is not matching in the moment. So if we want to allow this, we need to edit the expression. Now what happens? We allow a 0 before a one-digit number. The one-digit number is in this blue bracket here, is this option here. You remember that this was the one-digit option and this was the two-digit option where a 1 was followed by 0, 1 or 2. Just to make sure that it's within the 12 hours. So what we do is we allow a 0 here. Allowing a 0 means that I put a 0 with a question mark. It's an optional 0. And I do the same for the ending time, the closing time. And this way we allowed the zeros there and now it's matching. So that's the way this can be used. Okay, so and now getting back to the previous question, that was about spaces. So far, the only space, well, in the original expression, the only space is here between the time and after the semicolon, after the days. So we can imagine that writers of such text and such directories, let's say, are not very precise people, and they could actually include some extra spaces here and there. So we must kind of prepare our expression to accept spaces. Now spaces like a \s, as I mentioned, it could be a space, it could be a literal space, and it would work here because I've used spaces here. But \s is more wide and it can match to any kind of spaces. So where we could have spaces, where? Here's a couple of examples. We could have spaces around the hyphen between the days. We could have, well, this space actually could cease to exist. So let me just make this optional. So how do I make this space optional? Is put a question mark after it. And you instantly can see that this is already matching because that space got optional while all the other matches are left intact. So we can have spaces around the time, the figures, and the AM, PM, and so on. So I can add a couple of optional spaces at these places. So around the hyphen here, around the hyphen here, and also between the digits and the AM, PM, here and here. And now you can see that these items are already matching now. The last one is not matching. Why is not matching the last one? It's because there are two spaces at this point, and the question mark means it's optional. It doesn't mean any number, it means it's optional. So it could be 1 or 0. If we want to allow more flexibility to it, we can say that it could be any number. It could either be a non-existent, so 0, or it could be 1 to whatever, anything. And to do that, we would change the question mark to an asterisk. Asterisk is again very much similar as the plus sign and the question mark. Asterisk means it's any number. Comparing asterisk to plus sign, the plus sign means 1 or more, so at least 1. The asterisk allows also 0, so it allows a non-existing token. So let me change all the question marks around for the spaces. Oops. 2 asterisks. And the last one here. And now it is matching. If I write any number of spaces anywhere, it will match. Well, it's not going to match if I put spaces there, of course, but anywhere. Okay. Well, it doesn't matter if I put some spaces afterwards. Okay. So this way we can allow a lot of spaces here and there. Cool. Now, how we use this in memoQ? Imagine that we have a text. Well, this is an imported file, this is simplify, and you can see that exactly the same text has been imported here. And what I want to do is, well, preserve these items. Well, thanks to the columns, these are in separate segments. So if I just tag these items, the meaningful day and time pairs, I can preserve this from editing. So how will I do that? I look up the Regex tagger feature. That's the Regex tagger feature. And here I just type the regular expression that needs to match these text patterns. So what I do, I go back to my Regex body and copy this whole expression and copy it into this field and say, well, a couple of options there are, like tag type is an open, a close, or an empty tag. Well, this is for us, it's an empty tag. It doesn't have a open-close pair. If you would have a tag, you would tag something that has an open and a closing structure, then you could differentiate those things. But this is just a standalone text pattern, so it will be an empty one. But it is a required one. The required means that the QA checker will pick it up if it's missing from the target. Right, the display text is $0. $0 means that the whole matched text. So we will come to the replacement part in a couple of minutes. But for replacement, we use these expressions with dollars, where the dollars mean certain parts of the matched text. Now, if we use $0, it means the whole text that has been matched. Okay, so I just add this, and instantly you can see in the preview window that there are some red features there that will turn to red. So here you can actually check that your expression is going to work. Okay, I just click the OK button, and here you can see instantly that everything that were matching to this expression turned to a red tag. You can use the F9 button. Just press the F9 button, and that will copy this as a tag, and you can confirm it, log it, whatever. You can also like sort them together, like let me sort the whole file source text length, and this, as these are now text, the length of these segments are 0, no text in there. So all these non-text things get together here, so I can select all of them, copy source to target by pressing Ctrl-Shift-S, or I could use this button up here, and I can log them up by, well, either you can use the log button somewhere around in the, here, or just pressing Ctrl-Shift-L and say this is logged. And from now on, this is gray background. You can't touch these things. So that's how regex tagger works, and that's how you can use the regular expressions for preparing some text. Right, let me get back to sorting, and just want to mention one additional thing, that you can see that those things that were not matching because of the well, meaningless times or the meaningless day abbreviations, they were not matched to the regular expression, and so they were not tagged. Now this is very important to say, because as a beginner of using regular expressions, it could be a problem that you include things into the expression that shouldn't be in there, and you also tag something that you wouldn't do that. Now, once I'm here, let me just, as a bit of a break, show you how to search regex expressions within memoQ. There's this little button, and that is, someone says she has to leave. This is recorded, so it's going to be available on the internet later, so you can watch it. Okay, so this button is a switches off on the regular expressions. So now let me search for all the strings, all the segments that contain a number. How I say that? I want to contain a digit. So I just typed \d, and \d, anything that matches this will appear here. Or let me say I want to find all the segments where there are two numbers beside each other. So let me filter for that. And we can see some of the items has disappeared. And those where there are two numbers beside each other, they remained. And let me filter it on and say I want those where there's two numbers followed by a hyphen, and there you are. Again, those that didn't have this pattern, they were unlisted, and the list remained for those only that had these this pattern. Right, so that's how you search, and you can actually use the search and replace function, and there you could also use regex expressions. Well, this is search and replace. Let me replace this way, and in this way you could actually type here a search expression, a regex based, use regular expression, this is a must this way, and type in here a regular expression and also replace it with something. Just for advanced users, I want to mention that expand text to text is also available now. So if you happen to want to search within text, text of the text, it is also possible. I don't think you can replace things in text, but I never tried it. So that's about it now, and let me go to the next section, and here I want to deal with dates. So I have a couple of sample dates. I copied out, and I probably pressed the wrong button here. Anyway, I will have something open. Okay, and I save this expression for later, and I will ask my colleagues to send it out so you have it as a string, and you can maybe use it or learn from it. You don't have to type it in or anything. So let me delete this, and this is my next sample. And this next sample is about dates. Well, today's date is 25th of, obviously not. I probably edited it so many times and I managed eventually to make it a bit different. It's 25th of August 2016. So I have this date and I want to create a pattern that match this, this date. And eventually, actually, I want to translate it in a way. And let's say we are translating to some exotic languages like Hungarian, where this date should look like this thing. 2016, period, space, 08, period, space, 25, period. So this is a format that Hungarians use for their dates. And if you happen to translate between these two languages, you are better off if you have something to check this or also automate the translation of these kind of things. So what I'm going to do first is to create a pattern that matches these dates, and then create a replacement text that shows here, first of all, in the bottom window down here, how it will look after translation. And also we will copy it over to memoQ to show how this works from an auto-translation rule. So writing the expression is quite easy. We have like 2 digits followed by, sorry, I need to use a bit of trick. Right, so 2 digits, and then we have a hyphen, and then this again, and again, but in this place we have 4 digits. So, well, that's it. It matches. It matches to this date. Great. There are a couple of other dates here that don't match. Like we have this different separator, or we happen to have no zeros in front of the ones. And we have a couple of unexpected dates that might match later or now, like 45th of 15th month, whichever that is, in 5016. Probably we don't want to match those. So it's again about how to filter out things that we don't want to use, or don't want to match. But before that, I want to introduce a new token. And this token is the so-called named group. I want to name these things. Why? Because I can actually, well, I will need to mess around with these blocks of digits. I could say that, okay, this is a group here, and this is going to be the day. This is a group here, and when I say group, I mean a round bracket. And this is a group here, and I can actually, well, say that, okay, if I use $0 as a replacement, it will give me back the very same date. As I mentioned, $0 means that the actual matched text. So what happens if I say $1? $1 will match for the first group, the first round bracket. And then $2 is the, sorry, how I know, it's because here instead of the date, 25th of August 2016, I have only 25, so it was this whole pattern that was matched is replaced with $1, which is the first group, that is these 2 digits, the 25, so that's how I know. If I put there $2 as well, then I see that 08, so the next group also appears, and of course $3 would use the bring back the day, and I could now swap it around like $3.1 and add the periods and the spaces, and now it actually finished. Well, there's a period as well. So that's it. Now it's okay. Well, the thing is, it's the easy approach of this. But sometimes, as you saw in the previously, and also we'll see now, sometimes we have to introduce other round brackets for options, for example, or for other things, to group things together. And in that case, this numbering, this 1, 2, 3, will be well, spoiled. So this will, the numbers will change their meanings, and so they will not match to the right number. So for easy cases, you can use $1, $2, and $3, but for more difficult cases, we use named groups. And it's not very difficult, actually, if you give a name to a group. To give a name to a group is like this. This is day. That's it. So a question mark, and between two, well, less than and greater than signs, pointed brackets, let me call it this way, we add the name. And from then on, this is going to be called the day group, and this is going to be called the month group, and this is going to be called, oh, what did I do? My God. Oh my God. What did I do? Why is my text there? Sorry. I'm not sure what I did, so let me restart Regex again. Sorry. I hope it gets back there. Oh. Right, so this is where I was. So I named the groups day, month, and year, and now I can actually use these names down here. Oh, not that way, but this way. So using the dollar button and with curly brackets, with the name in the brackets, you can reference the named groups. And in this way, you can see in the replace section that the date parts have been changed, ordered, and also the right punctuation is inserted. Well, there's a period at the end, but that's it. Okay, so these are the named groups. Okay, how to make it more precise? Well, here we have days. Days are numbered from 1 to 31. Well, we could make it more precise by breaking down by month, that for certain months it's 30, other months it's 31, and for February it's 28 or 29. I don't want to care with this details. What I want to do is make sure that this is something between 1 and 31. So what I do, use the same trick as I used for the time in the doctor's directory entry, and say that we have actually a couple of options here. One option is that we have a number between 0 and 9, 1 and 9. It could be a digit, or it could be, actually it allows 0, so I don't want to allow 0, I want to allow only 1 to 9. And actually it can be preceded with an optional 0. So that's how it should match. Then the next option is that it starts with a 1 or 2, and after the 1 or 2 I have a digit, doesn't matter which one. So the next option is that it starts with 1 or 2. 1 or 2 is with the square brackets, that's the OR. 1 or 2, or the list of possible characters, 1 or 2, and after 1 or 2 I have a digit. We can see that, well, 25 is already matching. Actually, let me list a couple of other items here, like 5 and also 05. These are all matching. So the first, the day is already handled properly. I have the optional 0, I have 1, 2. What is not working yet is the 30th. So I need to add another option here, and that option will start with a 3, but after the 3 I have a limited options. I could have a 0 or 1. So now you can see that 30 is also matching now, and this way the day is now very specific. It's not as specific as it could be, as I mentioned, because of the variance of the number of days for months, but at least it will accept only numbers between 1 and 31. Okay, for months we have a similar situation. We can have let me just copy it over from the prepared notes and just explain it to you. So we have an optional 0 with 1 to 9, as the month could be anything from 1 to 12, and then the other option is that the starting number is 1, and then we have a 0 or 1 or 2. So that's how this would work for a month. And for years, well, we can keep it this way, or we can limit it and say that the first character could be either 1 or 2. Well, if it's not a history book, it probably will fit. And after 1 or 2, we have 3 other digits, which are free. So in this way, we have these dates definitely matched, and some of the other dates. So we managed the zeros, the optional zeros here. We have some unexpected dates that are not matching now because the silly numbers are not matched. 5,045th day and so on. Okay, there's one other thing. In the source text, we might realize that sometimes the writer used a hyphen, sometimes they used a slash. So what I do is make this optional. So I create this well-known structure of optional characters, and now it will match to the slash separated dates as well. So, well, it matches to these dates, it matches the different separator, it matches the other dates, and we have a couple of unexpected dates that has some strange things, and we don't want to match these. Why does it match to these? Well, let's see the first one. The first one matches because we didn't say that this is actually the start point of this number. We didn't say that before this point there is no other number. So the regex interpreter thinks, well, it could start here. Well, there's an optional 0, but we don't need it. So this one will match to this part here. So the day will match. Well, regarding the separator, there is no problem. Regarding the month and the year, no problem. So from this one on, it will match properly. No problem with that. Okay, how can we avoid this? Is that we say that this is a boundary. A boundary is meant by this token. And at the end, we can also say this is a boundary. Now, a boundary is a token that doesn't fit to a character. It doesn't take up a character. It's a 0 length character in the pattern, in the text that is matched, but it means that the following thing comes after a boundary. That means, well, either an enter or space or a punctuation or that kind of thing. So this is how we can make sure that this kind of thing is not matched. Okay, but we have this other thing here. Well, why are these matching? Because what happens here? We have a dash and we have a slash, but they are not the same. So we could actually say that if here we have a dash, then this one also must be a dash. Or if we have a slash here, this one also must be a slash. This is again something that regex can do, but to do that we need to name this expression, the first separator, we need to name this. We know how to name. We put a question mark and say this is separator. Oh, my caps lock is on. Separator. And probably we should use the pointed brackets as well. Okay, so now we gave a name to this group. This group is either a hyphen or a slash. One of those, precisely. So what I can do here for the next separator, I can back reference and say this must be the same character as the one that appeared here. So I am not allowing either a hyphen or a slash here, but I back reference to the beginning of, well, the previous part of this expression and say this also must be a separator. And that's called back referencing. That's the official word for it. So if you are looking up for this kind of things, then this is what you want to search for. So back reference, and back referencing is used by this expression. It's a \k as back, and repeating the name of the group that needs to be repeated at this point. So this way I can ensure that this very same mark is repeated at this position. So now if we go down to the matching area, we can see that all the previous things that needed to be matched are okay, they match, and the unexpected dates, including those that have different marks for between the days and months and the month and years, they are not matching anymore because this regular expression now requires to have the same separator in both places. Okay, I have another question, and that question is about what is a dollar sign. Okay, so now I want to explain a bit about replacement. So we have a very good expression that matches the, and I see, yeah, that matches the right items in our text, and we want to make sure that these are translated properly. And actually I see that I'm running over time. I promise I will finish within 5 minutes, so if you can stay with me for 5 minutes, please do. Right, so we have the expression, and I want to use this to translate the dates properly. So what I do is create this expression, the so-called replace expression. The replace expression shows a regular expression interpreter how to replace the matched text in the target area. So now this is the source area, this is the target area, and you can see that in the source we have this 25-08-2016, and it is translated into 2016 period space 08 period space 25 period. So and you can see that all these dates, independently of the format, how we use them, they are translated the same way. And that's what an auto-translation rule can do for us. Right, so the dollar sign here is actually a reference to the search pattern expression, the top one. So that's a reference to the top expression. It could be a numbered one, as I mentioned. It could be 1, which means the first round bracket within this expression. Or it could be a name like this in curly brackets, as we use it here. In this case, it will refer back to the actual group that is named the same way. So this $year refers to the part of the text that is matching this group here. So this group is like a 1 or 2 and then 3 digits, so that's the year, the 4 digits of the year. So whatever is matched here, the 4 digits of the year, will appear in the replace expression instead of this $year. So that's what we see here, that this 2016 sorry, this 2016 here matching, oh my god. So this 2016 is matching to this year, and because of this expression, $year, this 2016 will appear in the beginning of the replace text. Then it will display the period and the space from here, and then the month, the item that is matching to the month expression. And the month expression, as we know, the 2 digits of the month, so this 08. So this will come here, and then it will come next to the period and the space here, and then the day, the text that is matching the day, so that is like this 25, that will come at this point, and finally we have a period there. So that's how replacement works, and that's how a search and a replace regular expression works in action. Right. Okay. What does the dollar sign? Sorry, the next question. And if I want to find only the wrong dates? Well, with regular expression, you are matching things. Well, I'm matching things. That's a good question. I would need to think about this. Let me put this aside for a second and get back to the end maybe. Now I want to use this translation rule in memoQ. So let me go to memoQ, get rid of the filtering, and here you can see in the bottom of this file, you can see these dates, the exact same dates that we used for this demonstration in Regex body. So if originally nothing happens. So what I can do, I can employ a auto translation rule. That's this in settings, this icon with the 5 and whatever that mark is. So here I have this auto translation rule. I don't want to go into much details about auto translation rules, but basically this first tab shows here I add what needs to match, and here I add how to interpret it, how to translate it. So that's the matching expression, and that's the replace expression. So that's what I'm going to do. I go back to Regex body, copy the whole expression from the matching part, insert it here and add, and go back to Regex body, copy the whole replace expression, add it here, and save it. So I just copied it in here. Now go back to the editing screen, and now you can see that there is this green background. Green background means auto translation rule, and so the whole text got green background. On the translation results area, you can see that this date has been matched, and the translation should look like this. Well, you can insert it with Ctrl+1 as usually within memoQ, or I wanted to show you another trick, and that's in preparation and say populate number on the segments. If you press this button, you have an option to recognize auto-translatables. And what I want to do, well, there are some other options, but here I can say status of populated segments. I want them to be confirmed and maybe even logged. Well, I am brave enough for now. You can make it differently. You can use this assembled from segments. That's very nice. This like purple color, and you can filter them together and review them. Well, maybe let me use this one. If I'm talking about this, why not using this one? So assembled from fragments. See that purple color. So there we are. So you can see that memoQ automatically filled up those segments that match to that auto-translation rule. And of course, those dates that are not matching to the expression, they are not filled up, but all the others are filled up and already translated. Already they appear in the translated pattern. So, well, as I said, you can filter them together. Press the filter button and say status fragments. So you can filter for the fragments. You can review these just to make sure that the auto-translation rule picked up everything correctly. And once done, you can confirm those, maybe even look. And that's it. So now if I switch off the filtering, by pressing this cross button, we can see that, well, those things now are all logged that we could pre-translate basically with the rules. Of course, if you have dates within text, and let me just hack this file a bit. This is date, and let me create a proper date here. In this case, it will not pre-translate this way, of course, because it's not a segment that is that contains only this part. But still, you get the green background, and you can translate this and say and use the Ctrl+1 from the translation results area to insert the right format of this date. Right, that was what I wanted to say, and yeah, there is another, I believe there is a rule for matching anything but the regex. Yes, in what you mean probably is the QA feature, the new QA feature that came quite recently into memoQ. And let me show that there is this QA with regex. And so once you well, make a copy of your default QA settings, if you don't have one, then you can edit it. And if you open it up, you will have a regex tab. And within the regex tab, you will activate this feature and regex replacement in target. Forbidden regex replacement in target. And regex match in target. Maybe one of these would be able to filter us out any wrong dates. I am not sure. So what you do is, well, for translation, you want to find something. You say that you want to find something that is forbidden, but in a way that you say what is good and markers everything that is not good. But still, I think you need somehow to say, well, draw the limits of what can be not good. I mean, if I say mark anything that is not matching this, sorry, let me come back here. So mark anything that is not matching this expression. And well, it would mark this as well. It would not only mark the wrong dates, I mean these, but it would also mark anything that is different from that, is not matching. So, well, we could think about if you could have, well, if you have some very specific idea what you want to do, maybe you can send it over to us and we can have a check. Well, if you have something like this, you can send it to our support@killgrade.com, and if you want it to get to me, you can address it to the professional services. We'll see if I can help you with this or not. Okay, well, that is, okay, there's another question. Why do auto-translated numbers sometimes trigger a false number error warning? Remark on form. Can this be improved, please? Oh, yes. In memoQ QA, In memoQ QA, there is the number check, this one. If you leave it, well, this has changed a bit recently on one hand. The changes have eliminated the strict interpretation because those caused an immense amount of false errors. So I think eventually we just took it off from the software. Also, we improved the way numbers are interpreted. But at the same time, numbers can appear in a multitude of ways in text. And it is impossible to recognize all of them and then interpret to all of them on a general level, so on a software level. So if you want to improve this, there are ways to do this. Well, one thing you can do is edit the number format here. I don't say this will help a lot because this is only for the actual number format that you want to use for a certain language, and it doesn't give you too many options. Only, well, decimal sign, negative sign, digit grouping, symbol, and so on. So this is all that you can do here. Or the other thing you can do is, well, and I didn't say that, only into this webinar. You can turn it off. Well, that's one thing. This will not give you any errors. Okay, but I want to check my numbers. Okay, sure. Why don't you check your numbers? So what you can do is in auto translation rules, there are default numbers, number groups. So if I'm translating from English, to English, then I would choose numbers English group. And this one has a number of predefined expressions there. I don't say you will understand all of them with this, those things that we have done today, but you can recognize the \d and the optional operator and the \s for spaces and so on. Well, this thing it might be a bit, well, sorry. These U things, I don't know where that was. Yeah, there it is. So this is like a Unicode character, a specific one. So anyway, there are some predefined number rules, and you can employ these to check your translation. So what I would do is switch this on. If you are on a server project, you have to share it on the server first, because these are all local resources when you install memoQ, and go to the QA settings and say that I want to check auto-translatables. And this way it will check the numbers as well. So that gives less problems, and also this is something that you can expand and improve. So this number check, the only improvement way to do this is to edit this, these couple of options here for number formats. But this way, if you check numbers through the auto-translatables, you can define patterns, number patterns, that will recognize your numbers properly, that are relevant to your text that you translate, and that way you can make sure that they are translated properly. Okay. Well, we waited for regex for a long time, but cannot save any regular expression in memoQ like we can with Xbench. So we have to copy in regular expressions every time from a text file. Is Kruger going to introduce a save regular expression option? I'm just not sure what you mean. I mean, if you include regex on this QA settings panel, you can save it together with the QA settings, I believe. If you add regex to the auto translation rules, you can definitely save them. I mean, this is the one that we saved just during this webinar. If you use it in a segmentation rule, okay, these are also regular expressions down here, and these also can be saved. So actually, I'm not sure. Dave, if you want of searches, so you want to like save. So when you are in the editor, save searches here. You mean? Well, that's yeah. You are right. This is not something that you can save. But yeah. This is not the way. Well, this is a search. I mean, if you would save, okay, I'm searching for open and I want to save it. Well, it never appeared to be a request to me. I don't remember seeing that request, but it could be an option for later developments to remember at least for the searches. But that would also be like for a session. I mean, until memoQ works. I mean, just like in Notepad++. It's Notepad++. So if I Control F, I can see that there were a couple of things I've been searching for. It's probably saved. I mean, this kind of functionality could be utilized here. Sure. Thanks for. Right. I think this is time to finish this webinar. Thank you very much for your attendance. I actually have a couple of questions that I usually have to put to you. So let me quickly start the pause and give you the options to answer. And in the meantime, I close the webinar with, I hope you liked it. It is recorded. It will be published on our website and available later for review. Thank you very much for this. I'm saving this and putting out the next one. And I plan to do a next round of this webinar with even more advanced and more practice into memoQ, doing some work within the segmentation rules and the QA settings and so on. And I launched the third one, and I will have a last one afterwards. Thank you. I close this one as well. And the last one, I think that's the one I shouldn't see or watch. That's about this webinar, how you like this. Please be honest, no problem. I can survive. Well, thank you very much for your votes, and actually thank you very much for this feedback. This is very nice, thank you. And so it seems that you like this. See you soon on the third part of this webinar or any of the other webinars of Kilgrey, and have a nice day. Goodbye.